two innovative solutions providers, as I was telling. You're developing, both of you are working on, if I may put it shortly, alternative to traditional fuel-powered engine, which is a critical factor for the transformation of the industry. Both of your company are working on innovative solutions, but how do they work? What are you building? Amaury, let's start with you.
Hello everyone. So at Zephyr Eboré we have the vision that we can use wind propulsion again on merchant ship at the condition to use the sails of today and not the sails as we did 100 years ago. So what we are building, what we are doing is operating a sail ship that is using innovative sails to offer more ecological transport services.
Yes, not a kite like sky sails, but something else. Have you got pictures as well to show us?
Yeah, we have that. Yeah.
Okay, show it to us maybe to make it tangible.
Yeah.
Those are the sails, you know, spectacular ones. Okay, rigid ones. Yes.
Automated wing sails. I can. So basically, when we are talking about reusing sails on merchant ship, people, they often think they have the image of the old-fashioned clippers at the end of the 19th century.
Which are beautiful ships.
Beautiful ships, but they imagine dozens of sailors climbing on the mast to manage the sails. What we want to do is to upgrade the image of sails, relying on two major innovations that were developed over the last 10 years in the world of sailings. First, automated sails, and second, wing sails that are, so I can show some picture. Yeah. So
it was born for the America's Cup.
Yeah.
Those kind of
so
sails.
the first, the large yacht that you can see on the right, it's a yacht that was built in 2006. It is 88 meters, so it's a small ship, like a small merchant ship, equipped with 2,500 square meters of automated sails. So it has been proven over the last 10 years that we can automate large superficie of sails and that it works. And so the ship on the left is the first America's Cup ship that were equipped with wing sails 10 years ago. And so maybe I will be able to explain more after.
Oh yeah, we're going to get back to it. But pictures help people, help the audience to see what is at stake, what is at work. And what about Equion? What are you building? Not sails.
No.
Something else.
We are not building sails. So I'm very happy to be here with Amaury. We are together coming from Nantes, but doing different things on a boat. So I don't know if you can have. So what we're doing, you all know the sound that you can use to make music. We are using music, but a very high music to produce cooling. So because the sound has a very high power, and we use it to make hybridation of cooling for on a boat. So the idea is that no, it's about only one. Okay. So the idea is that we are going to use waste heat of the engine to convert it into acoustic waves, which is a natural phenomenon, and we will convert it into cooling. And we are now working with two major shipyards in Nantes to make a first research with Naval Group and Les Chantiers de l'Atlantique and le NSM to define what kind of cooling we need on what kind of boat and how we can implement this kind of solution on board. And then what could be the ROI of this kind of solution?
Because obviously it leads you back to your physics class in high school, because heat makes waves. Okay.
Yes, you know what is interesting is that when you're talking about heat, you talk about watts. When you're talking about sound, you talk about watts. And when you're talking about electricity, you talk about watts. So you can make conversion. I am talking right now, and I'm producing heat. But a wave is I'm doing compression and expansion, like this. So we are using this ability of natural conversion to make the work of a compressor, which is using a gas right now, and which is producing like 10% of the greenhouse gas of the world. So that's the idea, to use a natural phenomenon to convert waste heat, free energy, and to produce ecological cooling.
So, innovative solution indeed, and we see both of them, which you need to implement in the shipping industry. You need to find customers. You need to convince companies to work with you to adopt your solutions. Let's get back to the bigger picture. What do you think of the readiness of the shipping industry to innovation? Are they now eager to be transforming more than in the past years? We were telling this in the first panel. The shipping industry used to be risk-averse, to be very slow to change its tools, its chips, its solutions. Are they ready now to go faster? Amaury, what do you think of it, your analysis?
Well,
it's complicated.
Let's get just 1 minute in the mind of a ship owner that want to invest to develop innovative ships and lower carbon ships. So when you are a ship owner,
those are huge investments at every time.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to invest millions and millions in a ship. So you will ask yourself like just one simple question: is this ship will this ship be commercially viable over the time? And the problem is that when you invest in renewables, you increase that commercial risk, because for two reasons. For instance, for sales, wind conditions are not the same on all maritime routes. If you invest in hydrogen or batteries, you are not sure that there will be infrastructures in every port to provide competitive and low-carbon hydrogen or electricity. So to invest in renewable energies, ship owners need long-term commercial commitment from the charters. And the charters are used to not giving long-term commitment because they want to keep flexibility. They don't know what will be their production or logistics game in the future in 10 years. So they don't feel the interest of making long-term commitment. What we are trying to do as a shipping company is to make them understand that it can generate value to them, because if they give long-term commitment, we can develop sustainable solutions. And they are more and more aware that they need sustainable solutions if they want to have stability in their cost, because if we develop low-carbon ship, we can offer to them stable price, as we don't rely, depends on the oil prices variation, on the environmental regulation. We can offer them sustainable transport, so decrease the carbon footprint of their product. We can as well give them brand image, because actually, if the charters don't commit, as an entrepreneur, as a shipping company, we can't develop innovative ship and introduce the energy transition. So to be hero of change, actually, we need the charters to be hero of change and to commit. So all the charters in the room, if there is some, please commit.
Please join Amaury as soon as possible. Cédric, your point of view about it. Is the sector more eager to evolve, or are there roadblocks in the field of the charterers or maybe the shipbuilders? Is it going to be a long story?
Well, it's very long to innovate in the maritime industry. It's not an industry that we know very well because we are coming into it.
Maybe speak closer to the
sorry.
mic, please.
So what I heard trying to enter in this field is that the maritime industry was more innovating when there were accidents in the history, and now talking about the idea to have a lower footprint, lower emissions. It's very interesting to notice that, for example, in the Chantiers de l'Atlantique, they have an innovation a group of people working on the fact that they want to propose to the shipyards, the ship owner, new innovations. So that's why they develop with us the idea to hybrid their production of cooling. But we are just a small piece of all what can enter on a boat. And the fact is that the key point for the key guy who is normally reluctant to innovation in a boat is the chief mechanical engineer, because he wants to have a storm-proof devices on his boat. So you have your device has to work, and it has to work long before to be installed. So it's if you want to get into this industry, it takes time.
But it's a very complicated job to be a chief technical mechanical engineer on the ship, because you have a huge pressure of the timing, pressure on the liability of the ship. How do you try to convince them? Are you working with them? Are you meeting them?
Yes, but what was very interesting with the project we had with Naval Group is that the first meeting we had with the innovative responsible was a former mechanical engineer.
Yeah, it
so
helps.
When I talked with him, he was interested, but he was hard to convince. And when he went to see our prototype, and when he saw that it was simple, he got convinced, and he said, "Okay, we can start the project." But we have to pass every milestone to enter on a boat. So that would be the next ones.
You already mentioned twice, in fact, the fact that you're working with Naval Group, with Chantiers de l'Atlantique, which are major companies when it comes to shipbuilding in France. How did you manage, you as a startup, scale-up, to work with big groups, big corporations such as those? People often say it's going to be a win-win system if big companies work with startups in order to go faster into evolution. But how does it work in real life?
In real life, I went to see them. They are interested in promoting new ways of producing their cooling. Obviously, it's not only a question of CO2 emission, it's a question of ROI. So if we can give them a ROI under 3 years, they are very interested. The idea is that to produce cooling on a boat, what do? You produce electricity with a genset, and then with this electricity you run a chiller. The idea is that we will use the exhaust gas of this chiller to produce electricity. So at the end of the day, it's a reduction of fuel consumption. So this has an impact, a real impact on their global
global system.
Okay.
And Amaury, are you as well trying to work with bigger companies? On the pictures you showed us just at the very beginning of the session, I couldn't not manage, not notice, excuse me, the fact that there was Ariane Group written on the boat's hull. Is it just a wish? Is it a reality? How do you try to work with blue chips?
It's a reality. Actually,
tell us more about it, because it's an accomplishment, in fact, for you as well.
Yeah, indeed, we just signed a contract with Ariane Group to transport their satellite launchers between Europe and Guyana. It's a collaborative project.
Which is a critical line for them, because
A critical
no
line
no
because-
launch in Kourou without the pieces that are transported by, with the ships.
Exactly. They produce everything in Europe and they launch in Kourou. It is a collaborative project. So actually, we will not have been able to make that project without partnership. It's a partnership. It's a collaborative project. We develop it in partnership with the ship owner GIFMAR, with who we will operate the ship, and that is financing the ship. The automated wing sails that are plugged on the ship are developed by the famous naval architecture firm VPLP Design. And the customer, Ariane Group, has committed on a long-term contract allowing us to fund that ship. So the project is totally built under partnership. It's not the question, but to give you an idea of the impact of the project. So the 4 automated wing sails that are plugged on the ship will allow to reduce by 30% the fossil fuel consumption of the transport without impacting the price, the transit time, and the punctuality that were required by the customer, Ariane Group. So 30% on a ship like this, it's saving like the consumption of 3,000 cars every day. The result of that ship globally is that it will make a turn in the shipping industry. We will demonstrate with that project that we can use the wind again on a ship at the 21st century. So this is the global result of the project for everybody. And the result for Ariane Group is that saving fuels, we will be able to provide them with more prices that are more stable as we depend less on fossil fuel variation and on the environmental regulation that is coming. And we will as well give them like a sustainable transport solution that is innovative and that can reinforce their CSR and brand image because they deserve it. Actually, without them, we will not be able, is what I was explaining at the first question. It's a charter, they commit, and thanks to them, we are making that project existing.
One tiny precision, because it's interesting, because it showcases the interest of open innovation. Yeah. You mentioned Ariane Group, you mentioned the shipbuilder, and you also mentioned a very famous naval architecture firm, which is VPLP, yeah, which is a very advanced company, yeah, who used to work on race sailing boats. Yeah. What do they bring to you? The fact that they're already mastered very advanced solutions when it comes to sails?
Yeah, totally. So VPLP.
It's a legend when it comes to race sailing.
It's for race the world of racing ship. It's the counterpart of Ferrari for the world of.
I agree
Formula
with
1.
that. Yes,
legend. It's simple. They are designing the fastest racing ship of the world, so it's easy to understand. I would say that the partner with VPLP design is in the DNA of our project. When we started our project from scratch, we have this vision of operating a modern sail ship. To do that project, we needed to buy a ship, to get efficient sails to plug on the ship, and to find a reason of buying that ship. So we are running out of time.
Yeah, no. Just finish your sentence.
Yeah, and we started to meet naval architecture firms, and we meet VPLP Design, and especially Mark van Petegem, one of the 2 co-founders, and he had this vision.
One of the legends.
It's a legend. Enzo Ferrari for the racing, the racing world, the racing sails ship, and he had this vision of doing automated wing sails and using the expertise of VPLP Design on a racing ship, and so we partner with them. It allows us to have a reliable technology to plug and then to convince.
Just like the automotive industry uses technical solutions which have been breeded for race cars into everyday cars. It's the same kind of system. We're nearly running out of time. One last question. The next big thing. Where do you want to go next? What do you need to do this? Cedric.
The next big thing for us is to cut our cost by 10. So we just found a new solution that will have a very big impact on our capex, and because this is absolutely key for our customers. It has to work. It has to be cheap, because we are facing other technologies which are working very well with very good efficiency. But that they don't integrate the external, the negative externalities. So we have to play in the same game, and so far there is no regulation obliging them to integrate their negative externalities, or shipyards to recover waste heat, for example, and to use it more in their process. So we have to play in the same game.
Thank you. Amaury, one last instance. Next big thing, next big step?
The next big thing, so our goal at Zephyr Eboré is to contribute to decarbonize the shipping industry. Our vision is that it will go through a mix of solutions, not only SACE, but other technologies. So the next big thing is two things. First, to make an event with that ships, and because for us it will demonstrate that we are able to use wind again, and we expect to inspire other ship owners to do that, to have a multiplicative effect.
And the second and last one?
Yeah, the second thing is that to reach the objectives of the International Maritime Organization for 2050, 70% reduction of the carbon intensity of transport, we will need to combine and integrate different alternative solutions. And so we are working on that with the objective to develop a next ship that is combining those alternative technologies.
So long journey still to come. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us.